Villain to Kill is a new webcomic series on Webtoon. This series is all about good versus evil, hero versus villain, or in this case, psyker versus villain. You see, in this series there are two types of people with special powers: villains who are driven by their evil desires, and psykers who use their powers for good to fight against the villains. Our story stars Cassian Lee, a very powerful psyker who can kind of overdo it sometimes, but he's still got a good heart. We see this in the first episode when Cassian uses his powers to burn a few bank-robbing villains to a crisp. I know, kind of overdoing it, but despite saving the day, he sure wasn't saving the psyker public image. And I mean, I can kind of understand if the public feels a little bit uncomfortable at somebody literally incinerating criminals. That's kind of excessive. This leads to Cassian getting in trouble at work. He's currently employed at Lampus, which is an international organization for psykers. And his boss, his very pretty boss by the way, ends up suspending him. This actually works out well for Cassian because shortly after this happens, he gets a call from his longtime friend Jeff asking him to urgently meet him in Greece. Cassian quickly flies over, but Jeff doesn't show up at first. He begins to wonder if something happened, but then Jeff finally appears, except he's all bloodied and bruised. Before he can explain, Jeff gives Cassian a special pendant, but it's not long before his pursuers catch up with him and finish the job. Enraged at the loss of his friend, Cassian chases after the killers, and upon catching up with them, it's revealed that they're both fellow psykers, and said they killed Jeff because he was a traitor, and now they suspect Cassian of being one too. Boy, this sure took a turn. With Cassian filled with rage, he charges at his old friends, but they manage to get the best of him and he falls into the ocean. Just as Cassian takes his last breath, he doesn't seem to die, but instead wakes up in the body of a high school boy. Weird, right? And what's even weirder is he wakes up with his head in a toilet gasping for air. Quite the transition. Anyways, before Cassian can even figure out what's going on, the magic pendant that Jeff gave him starts to talk. It explains that its name is Moros, and it brought Cassian back to life in the body of Kang-woo Kwon, a Korean high school student. Moros further explains that Jeff entrusted Cassian with finding an ancient sword called Mark, the Sword of Annihilation. Hopefully with it, they can take down the ones responsible for all of this. But if it weren't bad enough, Cassian was brought back in the body of a high schooler, and this boy literally was about to unlock his powers and become a villain. Okay, maybe it's a good thing Cassian entered the picture, because now he can prevent this boy from becoming evil. Well, that's sort of the dilemma. Just as Cassian begins adjusting to his new life, it's not long before he has to start using his villain powers. Cassian begins to draw attention to himself. And aside from enemies, he might make some new friends as well. But can Cassian control the darkness that's now inside him? Or will he let it corrupt him and turn him into a true force of evil? Plus, will he be able to avenge Jeff and take down the ones that betrayed them? Well, you better start reading today and find out. I found this series not only action-packed and full of exciting moments, but there's also a deeper story that unfolds about the inner struggles of good versus evil, which really makes you want to come back for more each time. The characters are also interesting, and I'm really curious to see how Cassian and Mora's friendship develops on their fight for justice. If you guys want to check out Villain to Kill, click the link down below. It updates every Tuesday, only on Webtoon.